I would still be stuck like on the first thing she said. I don't understand how you could say that mandatory vaccines are acceptable, but mandatory school isn't.
Yeah, I
I
would
I, I want to
drill
understand
into
the
that.
basis to that, because to me, not having mandatory school causes so much more harm to society than any mandatory vaccine.
You hear about the proposed script for the Akira remake?
No.
Oh man, it was so bad. Like just embarrassingly bad. And it's also like, why remake it? It's like about this cultural time and place in Japan, and and it's purposefully meant to be animated. It's dealing with things you just can't do in live action. It's impossible.
Right.
So it's like, why do it?
I never liked Akira. I'll be 100% honest.
Really? It's my favorite movie.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Now it's kind of tied with something else, but yeah, I love Akira.
Because I don't know, I think I went into it like, oh, this is an anime about a kid with psychic powers, and he like up. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. And that's like, no, 90% of it is like motorcycle gangs and friendship. I'm like, oh god. I don't care about this. Get to the psychic powers stuff.
What's wrong with motorcycle gangs?
I don't give a about motorcycle gangs.
I mean, compared to psychic powers, it's pretty.
That's right.
Hands down, psychic powers, right?
Well, if you want to see psychic powers, watch the end. It gets pretty.
Yeah, I've seen the whole thing. There's giant babies getting hit with space lasers. Yeah, very bizarre. Anyway, we were watching a video or something, right?
We were. Demonmama. What? Just to recap, we've been talking so long. What is Demonmama politically again?
She's kind of like, I would present her as mostly being against the mainstream. So she's like anti-capitalist.
So she's usually anti-capitalist.
Yeah, usually that's socialism, but I guess she also appeals to anarchist sentiments here. And she's usually very, very socially progressive.
In her video yesterday about this, she said the state should not be tasked with taking children out of abusive homes. Mm-hmm. That this should be the community. And I'm like, what the like? That's why I'm like, there's like very strange like socialist libertarian vibes here.
Yeah, that I think so. Like I call that the Cope spiral. It's like you say something ridiculous, and then someone calls you out on it, and you have two options. You could admit that you're wrong or double down. And people will just double down over and over and over again and get more and more and more ridiculous.
I see. So
I'm guessing that's what that is.
Maybe I'm giving too much good faith and I'm assuming that Demonmama just has some like very unusual, contradictory moral foundations, and you're just like, no, she just said something dumb and is trying now to defend it. So maybe you're right.
I don't. The things she's saying, yeah, it's not like I don't think this is a moral foundations theory thing. This is just like, you're saying things that just don't align with reality at all. Right. And just to point this out, one of the arguments that I don't know that she makes it in this video, but she'll be like, well, lots of kids want to go to school. And it's like,
she does say that in this video. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if 80% of kids either want to go or would be forced by their parents, that would still be 20% of people who would like not get an education. Right. Well, it's like kind of a big deal.
As soon as the 20% were out, they would convince the other 80% that it was a waste of time. It would immediately become 100%.
Well, just to ask you guys, like if I had the option to not go to school, I would have never spent a day there.
Yeah, of course. Well,
that's tough.
It's my parents would have forced me, but if I was someone who, I mean, I could have just gone to school, and then when I showed up with my friends, we could just walk to like the park next door or something, because what are they supposed to do about it if it's not mandatory?
I didn't realize skipping school was even an option until like high school, and then I very much exercised that privilege.
Yeah, exactly. But exactly.
How do you have a state without coercion? Like if she's so anti-coercion, I don't see how you even have a state.
I don't think she would support the existence of a state given what she said here.
Right.
Okay.
No, I don't know. She said
how
she's
can you be
in favor of
anti-capitalist?
mandatory.
Yeah.
She said she's in favor of mandatory vaccines. So I don't know how that is allowed, but not school.
How would vaccines come into existence without capitalism and
education?
And how
I don't know.
how could you enforce anti-capitalism without a state, which would be coercive?
Yeah, when you start asking questions like how do you enforce this, you're gonna
we get the Cope spiral.
Yes, exactly. You are exactly right, because there isn't an answer to that. This is my whole problem with anarchism, is like, okay, how do you keep equilibrium in this society? And I just never get an answer to that. It's like, oh, people will just spontaneously keep it going, and no one will come take their shit. It's like, Okay.
I think that should be a meme now. I think people should call out the Cope spiral in debate, like as you're having the live debate. Joel, I think we're in a Cope spiral here. We need to
let's back up.
We need to back up a bit.
Right. Well, she did address this point in her video yesterday. She said, well,
the Cope spiral?
No. This, like the idea of like, what's the alternative? You don't have an idea of how to enforce blah, 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 blah. And her answer was, well, I bet when slavery existed, people couldn't imagine an alternative, but it was still justifiable to fight against it.
Mm-hmm.
That was her answer to this question.
Ooh, that's some scary shit right there.
That's the garbagest answer ever.
Yeah.
People knew the alternative to slavery. It's called hiring someone to do a fucking job.
They were doing it in the
all
North.
over the world at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were doing it in the North. They had an example. They had a very clear example.
They were doing it in the South. People were being hired to do normal jobs everywhere in the world.
Right.
So here's an interesting question, because I don't actually know the answer to this. Do you think people who put forward these ideas actually believe them? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think most of them do, and they're just very naive, or they have a very stupid view of the world that's just completely disconnected from reality.
Yeah, like something that often happens is that anything bad that people are doing is just like, oh, well, that just happens because we live in a capitalist society.
Right.
But the problem with that is that most of human history wasn't in a capitalist society. People were still doing these things.
I know. Most of human history, we're living in some sort of weird anarchy society, and there's lots of murder and killing and terrible things, going on. But whatever.
Yeah.
Really do about that people spread to other people. So I know the first thing people tend to go to on this, and I've seen this online, is would you support the state doing vaccine mandates? I think that's a really complicated question, much more in depth. On a larger scale, I'd say no.
And just disbanding public school is not a complicated question at all. That one is super easy.
Right.
Vaccines complicated.
That's because a vaccine has to do with spreading a disease to other people. And vaccines are largely valuable, not just for the self, but for stopping a disease that's killing people. I don't think we can make that argument for school.
Wait, of course you can make
that
that
argument.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to pause it too. What are you talking about? Like
that is the argument.
You want to have a democracy, and you purposefully want to allow your population to not even like learn to read? Like what?
Even beyond that, I mean, if people don't get educated, then they're going to be less likely to get a job, and you're going to have all these like people that are not attached to society.
I didn't know I had to have one.
You never knew that you needed a driver's license to drive your car?
Well, I'm traveling in my car, I'm not like driving.
Who are more likely to be criminals.
Yeah,
and
desperation.
Fuck things up.
Desperation. Yeah.
The kids, what is the whole, if the society doesn't embrace the children, they'll come back and burn the village down. I mean, it's weird because usually the leftist types are very big on trying to help oppress people and oppress minorities. And if you're going to say school is no longer mandatory, you're basically fucking over the most underprivileged part of the society, because all the rich parents are going to make their kids go to school.
Hell yeah, they are.
That was exactly my argument on Twitter. I was like, this is just going to f over poor kids.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think is going to happen?
Exactly. Yeah, all the rich people are going to force their kids to go to school. They're going to hire tutors, and all the poor parents who are working 3 jobs or just don't give a are not going to manage their children. Their children are going to just around, not go to school, and they're going to be for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only reasonable expectation of what would happen.
All their policies are that way. Defund the police is the same way. Just the poor people.
Right. Well, that's the people that have this like very. I guess it's more like anarchist than libertarian, like this very like anarchist view of things. I don't think they've ever interacted with the like lower income parts of the country.
Mm-hmm.
or society or the world, because it's like, yeah, sure, anarchy is fine if you're living in your nice area in your nice neighborhood with people who are middle class and up, but sometimes when you get into like not the best areas of the world,
mm-hmm.
like you'll be like, I think we need some kind of control here. I think we need some sort of guiding hand here to keep people in line.
Yeah, a lot of it is like not even a utopian view of human nature, just like I don't even know what to call it. Like basically the belief that people are inherently good in every way you could possibly call something good. and they're only corrupted by their environment. So we just need to fix their environment, and then people will all be angels who get along, and will all cooperate naturally without any, necessary state or function or anything, and there won't be crime, and we won't need prisons or police. I mean, it sounds stupid, but that's like legitimately the argument, right?
That's a distinction right there. People who believe that human beings are born great and corrupted by society versus people who think human beings are born evil and need socialization to actually become, good people. That's the difference right there.
They just want to know which team everybody's on, for sure. They don't like it when it's like unclear.
Yeah, that's another thing that we have in common with you, Shu, because we don't want to be on a fucking team.
Amen, brother.
We're rebels.
Yeah.
What are we, some kind of suicide squad?
Good night, everybody. Da, 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 da.